Welcome to this week's 52 Circles, and our prompt is wabi sabi, which is a kind of Japanese term for taking fragments and scraps, things that might be decayed, and then transforming them into something beautiful. So I've got my calico circle, I've chosen a selection of just offcuts of sheer fabrics, and I've got a selection of different weights of thread in black. I'm starting by just layering up my fragments and spending a bit of time just thinking about the composition of those, the layers I want to create, and the different weights of fabric so that I've got an interesting set of layers. I'm going to start with my thinnest thread, and I always do that when I'm stitching, working towards thicker threads at the end. So with my thin thread, I'm just going to do a succession of running stitches, just a simple up and down stitch across the surface of the circle. And of course, that's partly securing those layers together, but it's also going to become a decorative element as we consider those different weights of thread in the final piece. So I've sped this up here because there's nothing worse than just watching me do laborious kind of straight stitches, but there is something quite meditative about just taking that time to do those lines of straight stitch across your sample. And whilst I'm doing that, I'm thinking kind of reasonably carefully about the placement of the stitch, how wide apart I want each row to be. So there is a kind of decorative element to it as well as the functional piece. I've done some thin thread, a medium weight thread, and now I'm doing something which I hardly ever do, which is use a complete skein of embroidery thread. Top tip there is to pull the end down with the number printed on the label, and that's how you pull it free without tangling your embroidery thread. And the reason I don't like using a full skein is it's really quite tough to pull it through the fabric, as you can see here. It takes a bit of oomph to pull it through. So I'm just carefully teasing that through and then flattening out the fabric each time so that I don't get a kind of wrinkly creased effect. And again, with this thicker stitch, I'm thinking about it compositionally. So obviously it's traversing across the surface from the thinnest to the thickest thread. But then I'm going to go back and add some of the thicker thread, as you'll see in a minute, into those thinner layers. I'm just showing you a bit there on the back. I like to kind of just thread my end of my thread through some of the backs of the stitches there, just to secure it in place and stopping them coming free. Final step is to just trim the edges so that I keep my circular motif. And here's my finished sample. Obviously you can use colour, you don't have to stick to monochrome, but I hope you enjoy playing with this technique. Have a good week.